y'all, this is Sherry from Simple Southern Solutions, and I've decided to start a new series on my channel. My oldest son Brandon is getting married this November, and he and his wife to be have told me that they really don't know how to cook that well, and so I thought I would just show them some simple Southern cooking that I know they both enjoy eating, and so hopefully they can watch our videos and see how to cook these things that I cook all the time. So first we're going to cook some purple whole peas. Now we bought these in the grocery, but you can also get this time of the year from your local farmer's market, and you'll see them, they actually have a purple shell on them, and you can shell them, and they're similar to black-eyed peas. They have just a little bit of a different taste. So we found these in our local grocery store, and I'm going to cook about half a bag of them. So we'll start out there. Okay, this is, like I said, we got this in our frozen food section. It's purple whole peas, and I'm just going to put about half a bag in here, into our pan. And I'm just cooking mainly for my husband and myself. If I were going to cook for a lot of people, I would use the whole bag, but we don't really need all that for just the two of us. And I'm going to put about, probably for that much, about 2 teaspoons of salt. And like any good cook, I check it after I cook it to see if I need more. And to be honest, I don't usually measure, but you know, I know they're gonna need some measurements to cook, and most people do, so that's why I'm trying to measure for you guys. So when they watch this, they can actually measure out. And I'm going to put about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Okay. And then I've got a secret ingredient that most Southern cooks use, and that is bacon grease. And you can just, once you fry your bacon, just use a coffee filter and drain it and store it in the refrigerator, and it'll keep for about a month or so. But it's really, like I said, a secret ingredient. It flavors your beans and peas so well. Someone put about a tablespoon of bacon grease in there. Okay, and I'm going to start out with about 4 cups of water. So I'm going to go over to the sink and do that, and I'll be right back. I actually added 5 cups of water, and you can kind of see what it looks like. You see my bacon grease is floating there, my salt and pepper's in there. If you don't have bacon grease, you can just use some vegetable oil or canola oil, or if you have some ham in your refrigerator, that works, or especially country ham or a slice of bacon. You just want it to have some type of flavoring. And so I'm going to put this on the stove, and we're going to start it off on high and get it to a boil. So follow me to the stove. And we're going to start on high, and we're going to bring it to a boil, and then we'll be back in just a minute. Now, as you can see, our peas are boiling. So I'm going to turn this down to low, and I'm just going to let it simmer. And it really depends on when you're wanting to eat. I would try to let it simmer at least 30 minutes, but it won't hurt it to simmer all day if you needed it to. You just need to make sure to check it and make sure it doesn't run out of water, because you don't want to burn them. But like I said, at least 30 minutes. But I always put these on first when I'm getting the rest of my meal together, and that way they'll have plenty of time. Okay, if you look at our peas now, you see most of the water has cooked out of them. And as I said, this is a clean spoon. I'm going to try a bite to see if I need more salt. No, the salt is perfect. So I think these will be ready to just pour up and serve. I'll let Kenny try them and see what he thinks about our salt.
Get me a clean spoon and let's see. I tell you, there's nothing like this good home country cooking. I tell you, take note of all this. Is it really good? Those are so good. They're tender, got a really good taste. I really like them.
Hey, this is Sherry again, and I'm coming to you with another simple cooking side dish for us. Again, I'm doing this for my son and his wife to be, so if they want to learn how to cook some of the things that I cook, then they can enjoy it. Now, what I'm going to make today is fried potatoes and onions. Now, some people don't like onions. You can leave that out, but my husband and I love the taste that the onions bring to them. I'm going to use just a paring knife to peel my potatoes because we're living in a rental house and I don't have my good vegetable peeler. But of course, if it's easier for you to peel them with a vegetable peeler, you can do that. But I'm going to peel these just with my paring knife. Now, as I've told you before, my son, he's getting married in November, and he's actually my older son, and he's recently met the girl of his dreams, and they are so happy, and we're happy for them. My younger son is already married, and he has 3 children, and so we spend a lot of time with them because they live near us. But our older son doesn't live near us. And so I thought this would be a great way for me to be there with them and help them learn how to cook just simple Southern dishes without actually being there. My one daughter-in-law, she grew up on a farm, so she knows how to do all of these things. But my new daughter-in-law told me that she really doesn't know how to cook very much, and so I thought this would be helpful to them, and I got to thinking it would probably be helpful to lots of young people. Not everybody grows up learning how to cook. I was lucky. Both my grandmothers helped me learn as well as my mom, and so I've been cooking since I was about probably 10 years old, and I'm in my 50s now, so that's a long time. Have lots of experience cooking these dishes over and over and over, but if you've never done it, you don't know where to start. So this is real simple. I'm just peeling the potatoes, and you see I don't have much onion here because we only have 3 potatoes. And really this recipe, it depends on how many people you're feeding. You just try to think about, okay, how many potatoes do I need for the number of people that are eating with me today? And it really doesn't matter because you just cut up that many and go from there. So I'm peeling my potatoes, and then I'm gonna go over to the sink and wash them off really well in a few minutes, and then I'll come back and chop them up, and then we'll fry them up. It's not hard at all. It just takes a little bit of time, but it's a really good, easy side dish for really any kind of meat you're having. Or a lot of times my husband and I, we just like vegetable suppers or dinners. We don't even cook meat with them because we enjoy just regular old country cooking. That's our favorite meal, is just country cooking, and you really can't buy that out anymore. It's becoming a lost art. That's another reason why I thought this would be a good series to do, because it has become a lost art. Okay, I'm gonna go over to the sink and I'm gonna wash these potatoes off, and then we'll come back and chop them up. Okay, I'm back from washing the potatoes. Now this is really your personal preference. You can just slice the potatoes just in regular round slices if you want. However, my husband and I, we prefer just kind of chunk style potatoes, kind of cubed. And they don't have to be perfect. I just cut them something like this, just so you can kind of see. You do want them to be almost the same size, so they'll kind of cook at the same time frame, so some won't be done and some still raw. But other than that, you can, I mean, they don't have to be perfect by any means. In fact, they look more homemade by not being perfect. So if you're having somebody over and you serve these, I would say just try to get them the same size. You don't have to make them uniform as far as the look of them. You want them to be a little bit different. So I just cut the potato in half. And then cut that half into thirds, depending on the size of the potato, of course. These aren't very big potatoes. If you were doing a huge baking potato, you would definitely need to do more than thirds. To make them, at least to make them the size I'm making them. Like I said, you can make them any size you want. It doesn't have to be a certain size. It's all in personal preference, whatever you and your family like. We just tend to like them like this. You see, I don't have much onion compared to my 3 potatoes. And I'm going to just chop that up. Now, one thing about this is the onions cook much more quickly than the potatoes. So you don't want to put them on at the same time. And you can see I'm not a chef. I don't use the same cutting styles that chefs use. I'm just a country girl, and I learned to cook the country way, which is just a paring knife and chopping them up the best I can. And being in this rental property that was already furnished, I have to be honest, our knives aren't very sharp, so it's just, we bought this little paring knife because I couldn't cut it with those, so we use that for most things. Now, the secret to these is getting your grease really hot. I'm at the stove and I've put about, I'd say, a ½ inch of oil in a cast iron skillet. Now, if you don't have a cast iron skillet, it doesn't have to be. I just prefer frying in a cast iron skillet. And I'm gonna turn this on high because I want a very hot grease to cook these potatoes in. Because if you don't, they're going to be soggy and they won't be as crispy. And we prefer ours to be crispy. So I'm going to turn this on high and I'm going to give it a few minutes for it to come up to a higher temperature point. And I'll show you what it looks like in just a minute. It's been about 2 minutes and a half. And we're going to show you what this looks like. Hopefully you can see it on camera, but it's starting to boil. And so I'm going to put in just the potatoes at this point. Not going to put in my onions. Just kind of make sure I'm spreading them out. You also want to go ahead and salt and pepper. Now, potatoes require a lot of salt in my mind. So I'm going to put almost a tablespoon on here. And then I like a lot of black pepper on these too. So I'm going to put about half tablespoon, which is the same as 1½ teaspoons of black pepper. Now, if you don't like it with that much black pepper, you don't have to put that much black pepper. We just prefer it. And basically, you have to stand here with it because you don't want them to burn, but you want to let them get a good crispiness on it. And so, you can see this one is already starting to get a little bit brown. So you just kind of stand here and kind of move them around a little bit. And again, you want to let them get extra brown, because if you don't, then they're going to be kind of soggy. They won't be crisp. And while you're waiting on them to cook, you want to have a plate and some paper towels and just lay those out so that your potatoes can drain. You want to get most of the grease off once they're finished. So I'll have that ready for when they're done. And these don't take long at all. And then you're going to want to wait to add your onions. You may hear a little cooing in the background. We have a granddaughter with us. She stays with us during the day while our mom works. And so she's 5 months old and she's in the swing right now while we're preparing this meal. She probably smells it. It's probably thinking something smells good over there. You can see I have quite a bit of black pepper. Every potato has some black pepper on it. And some of them are starting to get pretty brown. Now, when I start to see several of them get about this dark on most of the sides, that's when I'm going to add my onion. Because the onion doesn't take long at all to cook. It adds so much flavor, but it doesn't take long. So I'm going to just throw my onion in there and kind of spread it out. And then once the onion cooks, it'll be done. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, our potatoes and onions are ready to take up. Now, typically I've used a slotted spoon. You can see how the onions, some of them have like swollen and look like they have air inside them. Typically I would use a slotted spoon to take this up, but again, we're not in our house and we don't have all of my equipment. We should be in our new house in about 5 or 6 weeks, and I'll be so glad because then I'll be able to actually show you from start to finish what I do. But I didn't want to wait on these videos, so I just decided to go ahead and use what you have. And sometimes that's the best way to do it, is just use what you have. You don't have to go out and buy new stuff. This will put a little bit more grease on the paper towel, but it'll be all right. I got to turn off, helps to turn off the stove, but see what they're looking like. Believe me, it's some of the best potatoes you will ever eat. My husband, if I ask him what kind he wants, it's always this. Okay, this is what our completed potatoes and onions looks like, and we're gonna taste test it and let you know what we think. Okay, cut. All right, let me try a bite and see. Got a little bit of potato and I want a bite of onion with it. Woo. It's hot, but it's really good. I'm gonna let Kenny see what he thinks.
Now I get my part. I love this part of any kind of filming or anything she's making because I get the taste test, and that's the best part. It gets onion on top and the potato. These are so good. I love potatoes most any way you do them, but this is my favorite of all.